What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Path to a King, episode 9. And today, this is a very special episode. We're here with a special guest, Angel.
We have today Ricki Friedman. She is a motivational speaker, entrepreneur. She has her own self-improvement podcast by the name of Steps Forward with Ricki, and she's also helped many people better themselves and their day-to-day life and overall.
So, Ricki, before we get into any serious stuff, how's your day been going?
It's great. I'm in California, so, it's warm and sunny.
So are we. Beautiful California weather.
Okay.
Merced, California.
Venice.
It's a very small city.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to start with is we all know we have a self-improvement podcast. Ricki also has her own self-improvement podcast. So first, can you tell us, when did you start your self-improvement, not your podcast, but your self-improvement journey? When did you start, and what really made you realize that you had to change your life?
We all go on various variations of a self-improvement journey. So right, like if you think about your life, like if I think about when did my self-improvement journey start, like I don't know that it ever started or stopped. Like it's an ongoing thing. So different chapters of my life, I have always been improving my life. I could look back on a million different chapters of my life. I would say that the biggest one that I've gone on has been the last year and a half. And that was the first thing, it was probably August of 2021. And for some context, I was a life coach for 11 years, and I had a first business called Break the Weight. So I was always in the self-improvement journey space, but I was also really destructive for a very long time. And on September 24th, I started my podcast in August, and September 24th, 2021, I walked away from a 10-year weed addiction. And that was really the start of, I would like to say, the next version, the next chapter of my life, where the healing really started, because it finally could. So, yeah.
Okay. I know for me, and I may be able to speak for Angel as well, our self-improvement journey has started a long time ago, and it's been a lot of times on and off. So we'll be a lot productive for a few months, and then maybe we'll go do our own thing for a little bit, or we'll kind of lose progress and lose track. Has it been like that for you too? And are you all more consistent now over the past year with your podcast?
Well, with my podcast, I've always been consistent. In terms of like your self-improvement journey, like you always will. You're talking about the podcast or like your journey of self-improvement? Like what?
I'm talking about your journey, but also, has it been more consistent when you started the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, like you said, within the last year and a half, you felt like it was starting that new chapter.
Yes.
Version of life.
I started my podcast August 1st. I walked away from weed September 24th. And after I walked away from weed, my entire life changed. I was in a relationship that ended 2 weeks later. I got fired from this marketing job. I did a lot of therapy, and then I actually hit the road for 4 months and went on this crazy adventure, and it was amazing. And I just, honestly, my life changed so fast. Like I quantum leaped essentially, because my life was so stuck for so long that once I walked away from weed, which was such a big problem in my life, and it took up so much space, and then my relationship ended, everything changed for me. So I had so much more space to be consistent. And because everything was happening so fast, it was like there was such momentum. So I would say that my life was, and then I built my Walking Away from Weed program, which we can talk about later. But I would say that everything has been pretty consistent. It was pretty consistent for a little over a year. And then as of recently, I've been in a interesting space of expansion, but also when you're expanding to your next level, you also go through a period of feeling stuck. And it doesn't mean that you're back where you were. It doesn't mean that you're in a bad place. It just means that you've evolved so much, but now you're at this point where you're ready to evolve into the next thing, but you don't really know what the next thing is. So you feel stuck, but you're not actually stuck, because you're never, ever where you used to be. So yes, and in the short answer, yes, but every journey comes and, it's on and off. I didn't look at this as I looked at it as I'm changing my whole life. When you look at something like that, it's not something I go on and off about. It was just I'm going to just change my life. And then I'm just going to
And you just
I,
never
I
look
truly,
back.
I can honestly tell you, I never fucking looked back. I'm sorry, can I swear on here? Okay. Um,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
you're good.
fine.
spent, maybe you can relate, maybe your listeners can relate. I spent so long being stuck. Like, even when people thought I was doing well, like, I was so stuck that when I changed my life, it was like, it was like the door just flew open and I ran through it because like I had been like my internal like existence was just waiting so long. So I never looked back. I was like, I'm out. Like, because I'd been in it so long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just got tired of it and you decided like now's the time. You never look back. That's awesome. And I'm also really glad you mentioned weed because I know that's a big part of your journey, how you quit and how you're helping other people. So we live in a school campus and weed is a huge problem here. So my perspective on it is I think there's two types of people who do it. People who do it either because they're sad and they just want a way to escape life, and then people who do it for fun. So we like you to tell the people who are watching, what do you think the downside to weed is? Why other people should stop? And what do you think the main reason is why people start and get
So I
addicted?
don't think anyone should stop if they don't want to. I just really don't. I think you should do whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy.
That's
I'm not against weed. I don't think that there are, at the end of the day, it's not even about the weed, right? It's really about why you use something. And people are just really uneducated and really don't understand. Like for me, like, if you're ADHD and you have a lot of trauma, you're going to become more addicted to something like that because it literally affects your nervous system and it raises your dopamine levels. So to say I don't think that anyone should smoke, it's not really that. It's like, it's really more about the person who thinks that they're high functioning. Like you're not. If you smoke all day, even if you get shit done, like that was me. I ran a business. I was a life coach. I used to speak on stages. And guess what? I spent half the day getting high in my car. Would you consider that me highly functional just because I got things done? No. But the thing about it is like, if you're somebody that has to smoke every single day, multiple times a day, and you get anxious at the idea of it not being there for you that day, that's something to think about because whether that's weed or liquor or whatever it is for you, that is something that you might not be an addict, but you are addicted to that feeling of that release. And so it's really about understanding why you do something. And when I realized I spent my whole life being like, I'll stop smoking when I'm in a relationship. I'll stop smoking when I have this money. I was like waiting for these things that I would reach. And then I reached them and I'm getting high in my car all day and I'm like, holy fucking shit. This is so much bigger than what I thought it was. So you got to ask yourself, like, what is the relationship you have with it? And what's the relationship you have with yourself? Because that ultimately controls the relationship you have with anything, right?
I think we agree. I think
Hmm.
what we were saying is like some people do smoke weed, and I
Yeah.
personally am not against it. Like obviously, to each their own, and whatever makes you happy and whatever you feel like you need to do with your life. But also, like you said, you can't let it take over your life or let it become an issue where it kind of keeps you stuck and doesn't let you overhit that barrier. Or if once you recognize that it's like a pull for you to lean on. Like you should be able
Yeah.
to stand alone. Like you don't need it as support or to keep going in life.
And
So
another thing that I also heard you say that I don't know if it's exactly what you meant, but I agree with. I know a lot of people who do smoke like a lot, they're addicted to it, and at the end of the day, because of that and because they feel happy, they think that they're doing good in life or they're moving forward. But in reality, they're not. And if they don't smoke that day, they're going to be sad, depressed, and they got nothing done. Do you think that that in itself is a problem? Where if it's not there for you, you
Yeah.
can't function properly, can't get
That's
things
called
done, and
addiction.
can't feel good?
I mean, that's the little, and
yeah,
it's amazing because there almost is no stigma around it. That's the problem is that there's no stigma around smoking. No one's talking about the problems. No one's, it's really marketed as this like very healing plant. And it's like, it's a fucking plant. Like anything can be harmful. Like there's no difference. Like it doesn't matter that it's
yeah.
weed. It's actually like even worse in a lot of ways because it's like lace. It's just, there's so much, it's so pure. And then there's so much other things that come with it. But yeah, I think like, there are people that can live their life and smoke all day. Do I think you're really living your life? No, I do not. Because how can you live your life if you're not even present for your life? Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And if there's anybody watching this right now who does have an addiction and wants to quit and is having a difficult time, what's the best piece of
Join my
advice that you
program.
would give
I'll help you
them?
quit in 3 days. Seriously. I mean, first of all, you gotta want to quit. It's not always about quitting right away. It's also just about educating yourself, having awareness. I didn't quit right away. I spent like a few weeks really educating myself. So, if you don't understand why you're doing something, it's going to be really hard for you to stop doing it because you won't have the motivation. You won't be able to keep up with it. So,
You have to have the ability to
right.
cognitively think and reflect on why you do certain things.
But I will say that like people that think that that they're using it and that like they're healing, maybe they do it for anxiety. I'm just telling you right now, like you're not. Like it doesn't actually like I'm talking from like a scientific point of view. Like it does nothing for your nervous system, it does nothing for your brain. There's no rewiring. It's not like mushrooms. Like it's like literally doing nothing. It might make you feel good in the moment, but if you have bad anxiety, you got a lot of trauma and you smoke all the time, like you are making it so much worse for yourself. And that's not how it's marketed, but it is what it is.
I don't
Yeah.
disagree with any of that. Now, I want to move on from weed
Wow.
to relationships. So, we heard you talk about a lot how you realized that, I guess, your ex was not the
Shout out
one.
to my ex.
And my perspective on that, because I've had a lot of situations like that. And I think a lot of people think that it's a feeling when you know that somebody's the one and when you know that they're not. And my opinion on that is yes, it's a feeling, but that feeling comes from logical events and things that happen. So I think that if you analyze if that feeling and why it's there, you can find that there's certain things that that person is going to do or say that are going to make you realize that. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's more just it's just a feeling? If you know, you
I
know.
think it's just a feeling. I do. I don't listen. I think that you have to be compatible and you have to be able to go through life together, right? But at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, I had a great partner. We got through a lot of things together. We had a healthy relationship, a good team. We traveled well together. Like we were really great together. It didn't matter. That's logic. At the end of the day, it's a feeling. Someone says, how you know if someone's the one? They say, I just know. It's no different. Like they can't explain it because it's not an explainable feeling. It's just a feeling in your body. And I think that the problem is that when somebody doesn't feel that, they try to trick themselves with logic and be like, but we are so great together, but we love each other, but like we're still having sex, but blah, 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 whatever it is people are telling themselves. So logic will always win just because people are so scared of intuition. So I don't necessarily agree with that. However, I also don't think everything is so black and white. And I like to say that not everyone is the same. And so maybe for some people that's a better way for someone to process it. But I know the truth lives within your body. It doesn't live in your mind. And
It just, I think nowadays, especially for guys, we're so susceptible to like we find a girl that we find attractive. There might be a couple qualities that we seem that we like, that we think is like, oh, she's worthy of being, like we're worthy to be partners, right? Like we're compatible, but we let that blind us and we don't see like the full picture. So it's like a lot of guys get into that false sensehood that she is the one, when in reality, that's not.
right.
It doesn't work out. And this is just for guys because I've seen it a lot, in friends around me and other people, and I've been guilty of it myself. So it's like, I guess it just. What would you say about that? Like, how would you prevent that, or what do you think? How you should go about
I
it?
think first of all, everything like comes with age and experience. So like it also depends how old you are and where you're at in your life because there's only so much you only know what you know, right? So just knowing that like the more you go through these experiences, the more you're gonna understand yourself, right? It's all self-awareness. So if you know who you are, like I used to be like that with guys. I used to fall in love with everybody. But I'll tell you, like what it really was like lack of self-worth or just like that rush of dopamine of like that person has this, and this gives me a high. And then when that rush comes down, right? Like when the high becomes like normal again, it's like, oh wait, A lot of it's science. Like people don't really realize that. I would say that like there's no rush. Like also remember that a lot of people you meet are going to have a lot of qualities that you might like. I used to put everyone on a pedestal. Now when I meet someone, I'm like, no longer am I like, that's the hottest person I've ever seen in my life, or that's the coolest person. I'm just like, there are 7 billion people in the world. There are probably 7 million of this person people. Like they're not the only one. So you can like certain qualities about someone, doesn't mean that they're the one. Could be the one, but that's not the only person you're going to meet with those qualities. People think that it is, and that's where people start to get like narrow focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
that's kind of yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to address. And yeah, I totally agree. It's like a mindset thing. Like, like you said, it comes with age. And like how you said you changed the vision of putting
It's
people on a
huge.
pedestal to like he or is one of many.
That's
So I think it's
That's
just
such a big
something like
mindset,
that.
though, for anyone that's listening right now. Like, I'll tell you right now, you're going to save yourself so much frustration and overwhelm and all that when you realize that unless they are the one, there are 1 million of these people. Like, that was something that I used to get, and it really came back to like trauma of just like feeling like desperate and wanting that love and feeling like this person was so special that this person never existed again in the world. So when I would lose them, I was like, I'm never going to have that again. It's not true. And so anyone that's listening right now, like the person you met or the person that broke your heart, or the person you like is great. And there are 1 million versions of that person somewhere. And until you meet the one, there are 1 million versions of everyone that you meet in some way. And that will give you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, completely true.
What?
We totally agree, and it's like you said, you need to
Yes.
take it as an experience. As you grow, all these things from experience, and they become knowledge that you have already. And I also see that a lot of people like to hate on their previous partners, or something didn't work out, and they like to have that hate in between. I'm not for me personally, I think for both of us, we kind of see that as something useless because it just drags you down. Because you're using that energy to like hate this person or to dislike this person. What would your
I
opinion be
think
on that?
I think it depends. I think hating someone in general is just, I don't know. I don't even know if I've ever hated anyone. Like, I don't even know if that is like, like some people are annoying, but I think like you gotta, it takes time. So I think it also depends like where that person's at. They just broke up with someone. Like, you go through stages and feelings and emotions, but I don't know. I think every relationship teaches you something. And why do you hate this person so much? Like, usually when you hate someone so much, it's because like there's something that you like still love in a way. Because who hates someone? Like, who has the energy for that? So I got lucky. I had a really great ex-boyfriend and I loved him and loved him even when we broke up because like I was proud to have been with him. But I would say that just give yourself some time. If you need to be angry, that's fine. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything okay, guys?
Angel has to deal with something real quick.
Intermission?
He'll be back. Okay, so I wanted to speak more on the one. So I know I obviously think it's more logic based. You think it's a feeling, that's okay.
Maybe a
But another
combo.
thing that I really think about it is that you manifest the one. So I think that, for example, if you want to be find the one or the person for you, you have to become the right person. So basically, what I'm saying is if you're a loser and you're a person full of hate that does nothing, you're never going to get a person that's the opposite and that's going to make you feel good. So I think if you lose somebody and you think you lost the one, you didn't. Because I think if your energy is good and if you work hard and you make sure that you're the person that somebody would want to be with, then you're going to basically manifest that one back. Even if it's not the same person, a similar person.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you agree with
everything is
that?
the energy you put out there. So you usually attract the way you feel about yourself, right? So yeah, I would agree with that. I think you have to you don't have to be perfect to be loved. Um, that's important. Like you do not have to be the ultimate version of who you are to find someone that is the ultimate version of what you want. That's a lot of fucking pressure to put on yourself. Like I'm looking at my apartment right now and I'm like, if the love of my life walked in, I'd be upset if he saw what my apartment looked like. It doesn't mean that I don't deserve the love of my life. So I think it's yes, become this version of you that's vibrating, that you'd want someone to be around, but really also like we can be loved imperfectly.
Okay. So we have a
What's going
problem
on
with
right
this
now?
room right now. Somebody.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. I'm trying to free your mind, Nia, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Okay. All right, guys, we're back. So we were talking about the one being a feeling, and we were talking about how that you can manifest it. So if you lose that person, it doesn't matter because you can find that person. It's all about the energy that you put out there. So what do you think the first step for somebody to do if they just ended in a relationship? So if they just had a breakup, they're feeling sad, what's the first step that they should do to kind of build themselves up and prepare themselves for that new person that's going to come in their life later on?
The first step is like just fucking cry and like be upset and be sad and like allow yourself to be human. There is no step after a heartbreak. I don't know about you, but heartbreak is like the worst, and there's no step. It's like you don't just wake up the next day and you're like, okay, what do I got to do now to change my whole life? Like, first of all, give yourself some period of time to just be in it. Like, that's okay. I mean, yeah, you can't just like lay in your bed and eat ice cream and get high all day and do dumb shit, but it's okay if you don't feel like manifesting or changing your life and it's only been a couple weeks. I would say that like definitely after a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe less, whatever it takes you, like start to implement things into your life that make you feel good. So I know that when I go through a breakup or whatever, like I'd always just try to do one thing a day that made me feel good. Whether it's going on a walk or going to the gym or making sure my apartment was clean. But even that was like in between the crying. So like maybe implementing something healthy as you're sad, but you don't have to like change your whole life after you get your heart broken. I don't personally think you do, because I think it's like just not realistic,
Yeah, as a man. Yeah, as a man, at least for us, the way that we view it, at least the way that I view it, is as soon as you get heartbroken or you feel that, what I like to do is like channel all that emotion into working and building yourself up, because after time, that's going to go away. So it gives you, in a way, endless motivation. I know on the other side, for a lot of women, I know it's much better if they take the time and heal. But I also know a lot of girls who, after they get heartbroken, they try to get revenge in a way by, say, going out to drink with their friends and things like that. What would you say to those people?
Do you really think that's a way to heal, or do you think they're doing it out of spite to get back to the other person?
I think that some people just like don't know what else to do. I think that like it depends who broke up with who. It depends like how long the relationship was. I think that heartbreak is really different for everybody. There's no like one answer, but if you got broken up with and you're not doing well and I would say that like, just remember that wherever you go, like there you are. So whether you go out and you get drunk or you distract yourself with work or you throw yourself into something, like one day you will wake up and your feelings will catch up with you. So
I agree. You have to let yourself be human and feel them out, but at the same time, like you said, you can't just be laying around in your bed all day smoking or eating ice cream. Like you said, you try to do one activity a day that makes you feel better, or something that's good, that's in some way productive, whether it's productive in you healing or productive in you just a day-to-day routine. So I think with what we meet on and what we're trying to get across is that just don't let your life stop. Like you have to keep going, but obviously let your feelings be felt, but continue to move forward. Don't just stay stuck.
Yes, you will be fine, I promise. Like everyone goes through 1 million heartbreaks in their life and it really sucks and you'll feel like your life is over, but it's not. It's just beginning and you just got to keep moving. And listen, if you're so distraught after a period of time, it's nothing to do with the breakup. Usually it's internal and it's trauma, and that breakup activated something.
Cool. So the last question that I want to ask you, and this is, I think, the most important thing that I took out of your podcast when I watched it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know there was a part in there, I'm not sure which episode, that you said that you wanted to quit your weed addiction, but your boyfriend who you were with was smoking with you, and you had to make the decision to leave because of that. Am I getting that right?
Well, you made
No.
it. It's like you need to pull yourself out of the situation. Kind of like being in that relationship kind of made it easier to do it because it was approved of like within your surroundings. But pulling yourself out of it and going on your own and giving yourself that freedom, like you had said earlier, to be productive, to improve more. Like you need that space for yourself. You need to surround yourself with either people that think alike or with people, or to even just be out on your own. Because like you said, sometimes you just need that space for you to grow.
My ex-boyfriend didn't smoke, so I don't know where you got that from. Maybe it was about a different. I was in a relationship like 5 years ago with someone that smoked a lot. That may have been what you were referring to. Because my last boyfriend didn't smoke at all. I didn't smoke with him. He didn't even know that I smoked. So I think you're talking about something else.
Must have been.
It was a previous relationship, but I was smoking before that relationship too. I think at the end of the day, yes, I do agree that like you don't want to put yourself in a position where someone's doing it too. But I will tell you right now that like at the end of the day, it's like you either want to stop or you don't. And there's only so long that you can say it's your friend or that's your relationship or that it's this. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like if you want to stop, you will do whatever it takes. If you have to break up with that person, if you have to get new friends, if you have to isolate yourself a little bit, like at some point you become just the most important person in your own life and everything else is secondary. And that's what happened for me. And my ex-boyfriend was like an angel. So that was just more like, I knew that I couldn't be with anybody until I liked who I was. Regardless of smoking or not, but smoking obviously was a big part of it. But yeah, you have to like who you are. And if you don't like yourself, it doesn't matter what you do, who you're with, or where you go, because you will continually run to the same issue. I don't know if that answered your question, but
we agree with that too. No, yes, you did, and you also brought up another point and another value that we think is very important. It's how you said you could only blame other people for so long. You could, like you said, it could be your friend or so and so. But it's until you take that accountability upon yourself and say, you know what, like this is where it ends, or this is where something new starts. And I think a lot of people, especially I feel like in society as in general, and the people I've seen around me, it's a generalization, but this is just from what I've seen. A lot of people like to play the victim. I like to blame others. And it's like you need to be able to take that accountability in order to change things in your life, in order to make that next step.
Yeah, you really do. It's not easy, but it's important.
That I preach.
Sorry, continue.
No, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying one of the things that I preach the most is you're the closest of the 5 closest people around you. So you're just like the 5 closest people next to you. So if you don't like how your life is going, one of the first things you need to do is change your circle.
Yeah, I agree. But, that's not always so easy for people. So I think you could invest outside of your circle, right? So you can try to get into the room with other people, mentors, coaches, programs, things like that. Yeah, like see what it's like to be around other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that will just naturally probably gravitate,
And speaking of coaches and mentors, are you still a life coach?
No. I never identified as a coach in general. So, I mean, I do a lot of self-development stuff, self-improvement stuff, but I've just never identified with the word coach in as a general statement. So, I'm not a life coach, but I am definitely someone who helps people change their life in various different ways. But yeah, never really.
That's very evident.
Yeah. The title just was like always just so like whatever for me.
Okay, cool.
So before we finish, is there anything that basically you want to plug, shout out? I know you have your program. Anything you want to put people on if they need that help?
Yeah, if you're looking to take steps forward in your life or your business or your day, check out my podcast, Steps Forward with Ricki. It's a walking podcast, help people take steps forward in their life and their business and their day. And if you're struggling with weed addiction, I have a program called Walking Away from Weed. I also do business mentoring, and you can find me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm sure you guys will put it in the show notes. But yeah, I think the most important thing that I want you to take from this is that wherever you're at, you don't have to stay there. There are so many places to go. And even if you think that you can't go there, I didn't either, and you can. So just always remember that. You can always take a step forward.
We totally agree with that, and that's the message we're trying to push out to others, because it's sometimes they just need that extra word of encouragement, like, hey, like you said, like, you know, this is not it for you. There's still more to you. There's still reason for you to keep trying and keep improving. And sometimes just a little word that maybe they won't get it from somebody else, but if they get it from one of us, you and yourself included, it would, you know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely agree.
Thank you, Ricki. We really appreciate you having me on. It's been our pleasure.
Of course.
And hopefully we could do this again, or, you know, we'll keep in touch.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for watching. This is going to be the end of our episode. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Later.